So hello everybody and welcome back to session 3 of our Marketing Data 101. Today we're going to talk about something really important, and that's measurement strategy. Now, why is that important? Well, it is the difference between just measuring a campaign and measuring a campaign really well. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We're obviously going to give you some tips and tricks as we've done before. So I'm going to hand over to Tommy and he'll take you through everything measurement strategy related.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, so as Jeremy sort of correctly pointed out, we're sort of now talking the third topic, measurement strategy, and then following that, we'll do tracking audits in the following episode. So fundamentally, what is in particular marketing, because remember it's a Marketing Data 101 series, so we want to keep to that. So what is a marketing measurement strategy? So essentially, it's thinking about what data we should be sort of tracking to basically be able to analyze and therefore stick towards sort of defined sort of key performance indicators and try and help achieve that essentially, and making sure the tracking's in place to achieve that. So that's really it in a nutshell, so that you can sort of boost your ROI and essentially support all those marketing efforts, knowing what's working, what's not, and yeah, seeing that sort of bigger picture, but also the more granular detail as well, which can sometimes be important. So having like a good mix of the both. So yeah, having all that tracking in place. So yeah, essentially, I like to see a measurement strategy and how I've sort of gone about it as a two-step process or a two-product process. So you start with a measurement framework, and sort of we'll go into a little bit more detail what that looks like, and then you also accompany that with a measurement definition documentation that goes in a little bit more detail, and yeah, and essentially yeah, accompanies with the measurement framework. So you should really ideally have both. You could just do one and sort of skip the other, or just not read it properly. But in my opinion, if you want to achieve, and we talked about data maturity models, if you want the fives, you need to sort of have both, in my opinion, to achieve those sort of 4 to 5 scorings in this area. So to start off with is the measurement framework, and essentially it's just a structured way to see your sort of key core business objectives and sort of structure it. So starting off with those, then breaking them down into, so what is like the purpose of your website, for example, like what is the business objective? As an e-com website, you obviously want to prioritize the fact you want purchase and revenue, as your key sort of, that's what you want to boost, and that's the whole main purpose of your website. And also apps, not just a neglect apps. So I like to talk a lot about websites as I'm primarily a website specialist, but the same principle can go to any apps you've got. And then from there is to break it down a bit more, is to, okay, let's break this down into marketing objectives. And we'll talk about how we should look at that from a performance perspective, and essentially what these marketing objectives should look like to support this business objective, and go a little bit more granular. And ideally, you don't want more than sort of 3 to 5, I'd say, marketing objectives. Like five's probably max. You can try and sometimes push for 6, but yeah, and we'll have a look at an example of what a performance funnel looks like, and how you could sort of structure these marketing objectives. And then within each of these marketing objectives, we want to define a primary KPI. What is the sort of key metric there that's going to justify each marketing objective? What's going to define that? What's the targets? It's 10% increase of what year on year. So yeah, you want to sort of accompany that. So now we've got the marketing objective. Essentially, it's going to be a pillar structure, and you're going to just follow each marketing objective and start off with what is that primary KPI. Then next to that is actually looking at what secondary metrics you should accompany each pillar, each marketing objective, and therefore backing up these primary KPIs. So what should that look like? What secondary metrics can accompany this to help sometimes justify or help understand why that primary KPI didn't hit that, those targets? It can help you, sort of back that up. So you want those secondary metrics to accompany those. And then finally is segmentation, because we need to be able to segment all these metrics that fully understand the performance of each marketing objective. So we want that to back up each primary ideally, but also secondary, because sometimes looking at a metric as an overall isn't going to give us that much information. We need to be able to segment that. and be able to view that. The classics are being, I said the core anyway is always going to be your channel groupings, your source medium campaigns, maybe landing pages, but there are more, and you can have custom definitions and more to sort of back that up.
I'd love to just jump in here and really emphasize some of this as well, because I think there's two main points that we're trying to make here. Number one is a business objective. So the reason that we do anything, and this is even take away the fact we're doing marketing here, the reason that we do anything in business is we're here to solve a challenge. We're here to solve something and give people a solution to it. So we've got to have an objective for doing something, and it's really important to define what that is. But then equally important on the other side of it is how are we going to measure that? This is why the KPIs are so important. If we built a solution, we want to be able to measure it properly and know that it's worked. Because if somebody says, oh, well, you spent £2,000 on that, how much did you get back? It's like, oh, I don't know. I didn't measure it. So you don't know if it's worked or not. So it's important to have a challenge, but it's important to be able to measure the impact in relation to that challenge as well. So I'm sorry, I shall hand back over to you. I'm not here to jump in, but I just kind of felt when the more you were talking about this, the stronger I was feeling about wanting to emphasize it. So I shall hand back and try and be quiet, which is always difficult for me.
No, that's a really good point. Yeah, it's that core business objective, but then having a look at the segmentation. So you could have a look at a business objective, and you can say that the conversion events, right? Just set that up, that we're good to go. And it's like it's a bigger picture than that. You need to break it down by marketing objectives, and this is where the next point is going to be really, really vital. So I like to say for anyone, envision your framework as a marketing funnel. We start with increasing awareness. So you need to expand brand awareness through all your different marketing channels, be it all paid, non-paid, out of home, whatever it may be, upper funnel, lower funnel, mid funnel, all the different marketing activities you're investing in. You're doing that for a reason, right? You want to get your brand out there. So we want to measure that. We want to know, how do we measure brand awareness, right? So we want to start thinking about primary KPIs for that, secondary metrics, and how do we segment that to justify that as an objective. Then from there, we know, well, logically speaking, we've obviously got ads out there. We've got, we're investing in SEO. We're doing all these things and all these marketing channels. Now people seeing this, in theory, they will start clicking through. It's all online mostly, or potentially offline to some degree. We can have some measurement of offline as well. It's not to say purely online. I know Jeremy has some more data sciencey stuff for the more the offline sort of side of things and how to measure that. And again, that can be all it's maybe not a tracking thing, but knowing you've got at least fundamental metrics to be able to sort of make those sort of decisions. But then it's going, okay, from there, users are likely to click through, go to websites and apps, and drive traffic to your websites, and use tools like Google Analytics to measure that. So you may want to use like something like sessions as a key objective for that sort of key KPI for that marketing objective. So once you see more sessions going to your website, visits, you then expect to see how they're engaging, right? Are they good sessions? Are they bad sessions? Have we got the right audiences, right? Are they engaged into our pages, our landing, the pages that they're going towards? How's the content? Are they viewing content? Maybe looking at like pages per session, average session duration. Start thinking about these type of metrics to sort of justify how well engaged they are, and look to start optimizing that. Investing in sort of CRO, UX, a bit of SEO to some degree. These are sort of tools that are going to help you. So again, you're creating that sort of team felt thing. You're investing in paid, or sometimes to some degree non-paid activity for brand awareness, driving more site traffic. But then you're going to have to look at those specialists to sort of improve that. And by improving that, they might like your brand more, they like your content more. And the combination of increased traffic and better content and things like that, and improved intent on the website, you're going to lead to better more conversions, whatever that may be. If you're an e-commerce site, if you're a B2B lead gen site, that might be lead gen forms. So you want to expand conversions. And I want to make it a point there in conversions there for a minute, is don't feel limited to what's on the website. I mean, e-com's kind of the easy one there. You've got purchases on your website. Imagine a B2B site. Expand conversions. What does that mean? Does that mean a lead gen form, or can we do a little bit better there and start connecting the online to the offline? They might fill in a form, call some people up. Your support teams to get those leads to actually convert and purchase whatever it may be, a product. Try and connect those dots. It's all possible. It is advanced techniques, so don't feel to stop there.
And just to, again, so I'm not jumping in to explain things, just for the people watching that are thinking, oh my God, it's marketing and there's all these acronyms again. Can you just explain very briefly what CRO and SEO are?
Yeah, so CRO just stands for conversion rate optimization. It's a way of reviewing sort of a website and reviewing all the different pain points that users are experiencing on the websites that may be stopping them. It can be from a conversion perspective, like leading them to purchase or to fill in a form, looking at those user journeys and essentially just trying to optimize it. But it can also be for other ways, just generally better user experience, better engagement and content. There can be lots of different ways that conversion rate optimization can support your business. It's not just improve conversions. And then SEO just means search engine optimization. And essentially that's something that's on each of the search engines, so Google, Bing, and it's a way of organically ranking on those and improving that to sort of get more sort of visibility and therefore hopefully more traffic on specific search terms that you're trying to optimize. Perfect. And then, yeah, after expanding conversions, we want to look at and again, linking that kind of conversion rate optimization, we do want to look at the conversion rates, right? Like you've arrived to the site and therefore you go and do stuff and then eventually you're going to convert or your users are going to convert. What is that conversion rate? Is it good? Is it bad? How can we improve that? So that's where again the CRO team and stuff can work to help bolster that, and therefore think of it like a loop. It goes back up to the expand conversions and almost does another iteration in itself. So yeah, that's where it becomes really powerful. But also we invest a lot of money in paid media, right? So we want to also look here about being efficient with our paid media spend, seeing those cost per acquisitions, our cost per leads. What is that at the moment? What's our targets? How can that be improved? Because by improving that in itself means you can then reinvest in that saved money into other sort of more upper funnel activity, for example, where you maybe maxed out your Google ads and stuff like that. You might want to start investing in more display, YouTube or other like out of home, and therefore go back through the cycle again and go through increase brand awareness, grow audiences, and then go through the funnel again and get drive even more conversions. So essentially, this is where a measurement definition documentation comes into place. And actually, I say documentation, it's a big documentation that contains three subsets of documentations. So you want to, after you've done your measurement framework, so that's always going to be step one. This is step two. You want a tracking plan to sort of see what you've already got in all your tools, all your marketing and analytics tools, your Google Analytics, your Google Ads, your Meta Ads, anything that can be, you can send data to help every marketing team do their job more effectively. So review what you've got, right? So you want a tracking plan and you want to start noting what is missing, what can you do better, basically. And we'll go a bit more detail what a tracking plan looks like in the next slide. But yeah, then we want to go, okay, with that tracking plan, do we need more sort of technical developer support to make that dream become a reality? Google Tag Manager itself can do great things. I'm just saying that is a tracking a tag management system that sort of works. It's the most popular. There are others. So when I say Google Tag Manager, it's just because most commonly used. Don't think it's the only one that's limited to, but it's got its limitations. And with those limitations, you can make it work. It's even got its own solution within that, but it just needs some extra developer support within the website, or maybe offline conversion tracking where that gets more complicated. But you can get that working. You can get that all working, so you can measure everything. So you may need that. You may need that developer support. And so you want to start documenting that, helping your developers actually implement that. And then we want to start actually, and this is quite an overlooked thing, is that we set up stuff, but we don't actually document it. And I like to say, do it before you even start the tracking, because you want to start planning for each platform. So your Google Analytics, your Google Ads, your Meta Ads, etc. They're very specific around events, right? Like what you can send. Are they standard pre-built naming that you can utilize? Do you have to set up custom tracking? Can you set up custom tracking? Is that even feasible for each tool? And what can you actually pass through in each event? Like you obviously that's where that segmentation part of the measurement framework was really important. We might want to send custom stuff that's not standard within each tool. So we need to start essentially putting a document together so everyone knows what's going on. What's that for each of the tools? These are the names, great, but what are we actually passing through? What can we actually analyze in each tool? So we'll go through a little bit more detail on each one. So a tracking plan could look like something. This is a really simplistic version. You can go a bit more detailed. You'd have like a Google sheet or an Excel sheet, just simply going, what event name are you looking at based on your measurement framework? Just start listing the events, which platforms you need to send these to. Is it Google Analytics 4, Meta Ads, Google Ads? There'll be a lot of cases where just Google Analytics 4 is going to have that event because that's the type of tool that you need to use your analysis. You don't want to send every single event to your Google Ads. It might not be relevant to them, to your paid team. So this is a time to start thinking about which platforms need which event. So you're starting to plan, right? And then start to see, is this available? If it is, has it got everything we need? Maybe you haven't set up every single custom, dimension and metric that you've added into your measurement framework. So you might need to add more tracking. Maybe you need developer support. This is where you might want to add a status column to sort of note down where you're at with each event, and see if you need to make improvements, or maybe it just doesn't exist yet and you still need to just set it up completely from scratch. And it's not something you've done yet. So yeah, this is a really important, just to see where you're at with things and start seeing what events you'll need to make your measurement framework a reality. It's just step one of this big sort of document. And essentially we'll go into the next thing is now we've got that tracking plan. It's like, okay, within these events, do I need developer support? Do I need that technical help to go forward? I won't go into details of the nitty gritty, but yeah, essentially there are cases where you're going to need that developer support to get, for example, you want to pass through um, on a form like all the metadata that's available there, and you want to sort of send some of that information to sort of your Google Analytics or your Google Ads or etc. You could use Google Tag Manager to scrape things. It's just not best practice. It might not always work in some forms cases. So you might need that developer support to put what they call these data layers in place. So that's just an example. E-commerce is another one. If you don't use a tool like Shopify, etc., you'll probably, you've got a custom built website. You're going to need developers to help you sort of get that information to Google Tag Manager and therefore send that all to your relevant platforms. You possibly could do it without, but again, it won't be very robust and it won't be to best practice standards. So this is where you need to start thinking these things. But then also things where like offline conversion tracking is actually possible. If you've got a connection between your online to offline, like a lead gen form that leads to a call, then that leads, which is offline at this stage, that then leads to a sale, that all happens offline, you can connect those dots, join that. There's multiple different techniques, but this is just to give an example of the offline event 2 at the bottom. This is like a server-side solution. If you wanted to send it directly to Google Analytics 4, you can do that, but you would need to produce the code, send it to your developers, and go from there. And I want to say these guides are really useful, especially if you start putting in formats like this, like a sheet ready to send to your developers. This is actually for people who are analysts, maybe, who have got the technical knowledge. They know the JavaScript, they know everything to put together, and they're ready to send it to their developers to actually implement on the website or even offline. Putting it on a sort of sheet just means it's there. If you leave or you've handed it over to someone else in the future, they've got all this documentation ready. You know where this is happening, etc. Documentation is so key in analytics. I can't emphasize that enough. And I think you're not doing justice if you're not documenting this stuff, and I don't think you're getting the most out of it. Or when something goes wrong, where have you got something to refer to? And also from a developer perspective, they generally find it a lot easier if you put it in this sort of format to understand what you're asking them to do. So it just saves them that little bit of time. So just wanted to put a couple of benefits why we want to do this, as well as why these developer cards are needed sometimes. So event naming matrices is just a way of documenting for each platform. Like for example, here, just Google Analytics 4, maybe Meta Ads. These are just examples. You want to start planning your event naming. It's very important. because you need to follow best practices. So having that document helps you do the best job, but also it's something you share with all your marketing teams so they know what's going on. Okay, this event does this. This is all the metadata you got available here. We've called this custom dimension in Google Analytics for this. This is the description of that, and so that they know when they go away, like, and do their analysis, it's that they can unlock so much more. Because if you don't document it, what will happen? All your hard work, like, they will get the fundamentals, but if they need to go in a bit more detail, they're not going to use everything. And basically, you're sending absolute excess data that's not going to get utilized and has the potential. So it's not you're sending it and it's pointless. That's a different problem. I think that's something you generally need to be wary of. But yeah, that's it essentially with measurement strategy. Having these both together just essentially unlocks so much more sort of data collection that's going to be useful to actually understanding your online business, and what deems success, and how to improve that, and how to analyze that, and then repeat reiterations of your marketing investments to sort of get that dream going.
100% agree with all of that. And I think having a measurement strategy is really important because it gives you a kind of goal to work towards. And I think if you're just kind of doing some marketing without really knowing why you're doing it or what you're going to measure at the end of it, you will just do some marketing and you won't know how good it is and you won't be able to refine it properly. So I think that was all really interesting and useful. And I'm really interested as well to kind of delve into the next session because we're going to get a little bit deeper and talk about some tracking audits as well. So I think this is only really the start of all of this. So if you want to know a bit more about tracking and tracking audits specifically, stay tuned because that will be coming up shortly. Naturally, if you want to know any more about this kind of stuff, if you want to be able to put together your own marketing strategy or measurement strategy, do get in contact with us. All of our socials and links are below. But until next time, we'll see you very soon.
Bye bye.